Okay, here's a brief overview of what we'll be covering today. I'll be going through the features and benefits of Reveal and Open CDISC. That's me, Keith, and Ian will then take over and demonstrate a few Reveal search scenarios, and then show how the product can be used with Open CDISC. After that, we'll go to the question and answer section, and we'll handle, as I said, as many questions as we can at that point. Okay. Here's what we expect you'll learn more, obviously, about the clinical search platform Reveal, how quick Reveal can be for searching clinical data and returning results in any clinical environment, and the file types that Reveal can support, and how to use Reveal search results with OpenCDISC to validate SDTM and ATOM. If time permits, Ian might also demonstrate it to Define.xml validation as well. Okay. We'll also get into how you can actually get started with Reveal, either using some of our sample data or uploading your own data and using Reveal on your own data. So, Reveal is the only critically aligned web-based search platform in the industry that can search the contents of SaaS data sets and search across unlimited number of data stores, giving pharmaceutical companies a virtual window into their cross-platform clinical data systems. Reveal also supports most major commercially available clinical data repositories and host file systems. And it can easily find and organize your data, making it extremely useful when combined with other third-party software utilities and analytics tools. Today, Ian will demonstrate one use case where Reveal is combined with Open CDISC Validator to validate data for compliance with CDISC, SDTM, and ATOM, and, as I said, Define.xml standards. Reveal can search most file types found in clinical environment and allow you to look at all of your data, metadata, binary data, tables, and once again, even data sources previously impossible to search, like SaaS data sets. And because Reveal has the ability to search the contents of SaaS data sets, it provides robust metadata search capabilities so end users can perform clinically relevant searches. Everyone knows that metadata describes information about the data like content, format, intended use, origin, derivation, etc. And with metadata, we're able to facilitate information flow, improve retrievals, help discovery, and provide context to the data. As an example, Reveal can pick up all assigned attributes in a SaaS data set or another file type held within a CDR, like the word phase, for instance, and by performing a metadata search for this metadata term phase, you can effectively organize or isolate your search parameters. Other enterprise search products have much more modest metadata search capabilities because they don't index all of the content in the data set or file. Many of our clients are awash with competing clinical applications, but Reveal can give them a window into their cross-platform clinical data systems. It's designed to perform a federated search across all of these various data sources and search them simultaneously. Reveal lets you build a single search index that can include multiple heterogeneous data sources. Even if your data resides in different physical locations, Reveal consolidates the information into one searchable body of knowledge. To summarize, Reveal can search all of your data rapidly, saving precious time. In minutes, you can access every data repository to find the necessary data and export results to analytical tools or other tools like Open CDISC. Reveal also recognizes data sets that are organized into rows and columns and that most other search products miss. It extracts data set metadata along with rows of data, and both are indexed and available for searching. Reveal also searches structured and unstructured data as well as specific terms and identifies files containing specific clinical information. By reducing the time it takes to find clinical information in unwieldy data repositories from days to minutes, Reveal saves you significant time and money and provides a competitive advantage to answer time-critical questions. Some of our current Reveal clients are using Reveal for these use case scenarios. We'll be showing a use case with CDISC. For those of you not familiar with CDISC, it is an open source software used for ensuring clinical data compliance with CDISC standards like SDTM, ADAM, SEND, Define.xml, and others. Ian will show you how that works in a minute. CDISC is a metadata-driven, configurable and configurable with checks defined using an XML-based validation framework. It has the power to support a wide range of rules and data formats and even custom data sets. So let's take a look at how these products work together. Basically, I just want to preview what Ian will be showing you. He will be we'll cover the things, but generally he'll be showing how tools like CDISC and JUMP and FileFire, how Reveal can find data you didn't know existed, how it helps you organize your data, which is extremely helpful when introducing new programmers to study data, and how it works closely with CDISC. So what I'm going to do is transfer the controls to Ian. Ian, are you there?
I sure am.
Okay.
Okay, can you see that?
I can.
Okay. So I'm Ian Fleming, Principal Consultant at DWise. I'm going to be walking through a couple of use cases with Reveal. The first thing I'm going to be doing is just showing, going through basically a quick demo of Reveal to show some of the capabilities of the tool. And then after we go through some of those capabilities, I'm actually going to show a use case with CDISC. And I think there's actually going to be some CDISC people on the phone, so I'll make a note of that as we're going through this, because I saw that Max has actually signed up, so I'll go through with him or confirm that there's some people on the phone and that we're not selling their product, but we're in fact just using it, the free version, for this particular case. So what you see on my screen right now is Reveal. What you can see is that it is actually a web-based client. This is just Firefox here that I'm running. There is some initial setup that has to be done to connect it to the data sources that you're going to be using internally in your environment. Reveal actually has the ability to connect up to file servers and databases, a number of different types of technologies. So so when you purchase Reveal and you get it set up in your environment, you can actually set it up with a number of different sources of data. So I'll just walk through a couple of different cases or use cases of things that we're going to be searching for in Reveal. I could just do a quick search. For example, we do have some data in here, which is Alzheimer's data. And so let's say that I want to search for some Alzheimer's. So I could just do a quick search for Alzheimer's right there, and I actually see I get a number of different things. If you look over here on the left-hand side, you can see source. We actually have a couple of different sources in here, but CAMD is the only one that we have, which is Alzheimer's data. So you can see it's returning all CAMD information here. What you're looking at here is the user interface. The user interface basically is in the beginning it's just simple. It's a text box, just very similar to like a Google page where they just have the text box. We do have some options here. So if you click on the settings button, you can see different options for actually displaying different columns. And so right now we have these columns set, but you can actually put some other items in here. So for example, the index is available to you and the relative score of the search results is also available. But we'll stick with what we have right now. The notes You can see here it's just a checkbox. You can turn that off and it will turn off all this information. But the notes, basically what that is doing is it's letting you know how many individual matches you have for that search term that you entered into the search box in that particular file. What you're seeing here is you're seeing a lot of SAS data sets. You're seeing concomitant medications, some medical history, some AEs, and things like that. So what you're seeing is you're actually seeing a return of a bunch of different files for this. But let's say that we actually wanted to see what kind of studies we had. And you can see here, based on the folder structure, there is some folder information. And Reveal actually does have a syntax that you can use to search for this particular thing. And so what you can say is that whenever you want to search for something and narrow it down a little bit further, you just say $, and whatever that, usually it's looking at the individual columns. So you can just say path is CAMD, and let's just say we don't know what's going to come after, so we can wildcard it with an asterisk. And then you say type, and then we'll call it folder. Right. So if we do that, we see we return all these folders here. There's one high-level folder, which is a studies folder. There's the higher-level folder, which is just the CAMD. But then you can see all these individual studies here. And I think if we count it out, there's about 14 studies that are included in this compound here, which actually meet the criteria of our search, which is saying that the path is CAMD, starts with CAMD, and is a type folder. But let's say that you want to narrow down your search even further. Let's say that you actually want to start looking inside of some of your data. So rather than just looking at folder structures and finding folders for things, you actually want to look at not even necessarily just files, but you want to look inside the files and look at the contents of the files. So what we can do is we can actually keep this first part. We're going to still be looking at Alzheimer's data, so we're going to look at CAMD. And then we're just going to look at, let's just say we want to look at only patients who have race black. So what we can do is when we do that, it actually instantaneously pops up, and you can see that what you have here is you have a number of different data sets that have come up. A lot of them are demographics data sets. That's not surprising because that's where the race information is stored in SDTM. What you also can do is if you wanted to look at one of these data sets, you can just right-click on this. This is all written in Flash, and so you can almost everything in here is interactive. So let's say I just want to open my SAS viewer and look at this data set. I can see what this data set looks like. And you can actually look in here and you can see we have some race items that are black here. So if you expand this, you can actually see that the search did return correct results. What was contained in the file actually was returned by Reveal. So you can see that these are the studies that actually have patients in them with a race equals black. So if you have particular interest in looking at that particular subgroup for Alzheimer's patients, you can go ahead and do that, and this will be a tool to actually help you find these studies that criteria. Okay. So let's another example is that you want to look at gender. So Reveal also has some additional syntax abilities where you can put in sex : equals something. So on the left side of the colon is going to be the name of the variable. On the right side of the variable is going to be the value you want it to return. So if you just put in M, I don't think there's any special syntax here for quotes or anything like that. So if you just do this, you type sex equals M, what you're going to get is you're going to get a bunch of different data. So the first part of the search is actually looking to see if it has a variable named sex, and then it's actually returning the actual data sets where a value of M is actually present in the data. You can even see over here that we have 42 matches within this first data set. So it's could be used as a fairly basic querying tool to get basic counts of things as well, because you can see in CAMD 1000 and the DM data set we actually have 42 records that are males. So since DM is a one record per patient data set, you can actually see that we have 42 males in the study. The same thing with all these other ones down here. You can see similarly we have some basic counts of things. And this isn't intended necessarily to be used as a some kind of statistical summarization tool or anything like that, but it can give you an insight into where you should be looking, and then you can open up some more powerful analytic tools to actually dig into the data a little bit further. If you want to dig into this a little bit more, what you can do is you can basically say, okay, for Alzheimer's, there is a common medication called memantine. And so if you just do a quick search for memantine, you're going to see you actually have a number of different items come up here. Concomitant medications, so the one that pops up the most, that's where you expect to see it. You have some dispositions here as well. And so it's not surprising you're going to see memantine popping up a lot here, but you can see that it occurs 227 times in this particular study. So there's a lot more usage here. It could be because it's a bigger study, most likely because you can see it's a fairly large file here, about 10,000 KB. But if you wanted to, what you could do is you could even narrow this, or actually make it a broader search. Memantine is a fairly specific spelling. If you wanted to make this even more broad, we actually support fuzzy logic searching. So if you just put in a tilde here after this, what you're going to get is you're going to take, it's going to take a little bit longer because the fuzzy search actually looks for things that are similar to memantine. It's not actually looking exactly for memantine. So it's going to get, if an investigator put memantine in here, but it was misspelled, and you can see here, so for this one we have highlighted, you can see it's getting 5 matches for selectine and another one for mescaline and all kinds of other different spellings here. And if you look down, you can see it's still returning the same data sets. There's a lot of the CM data sets and CAMD. But if you look down a little bit further, what you see down here is we're actually returning some other results that aren't even in this particular project that we were working on. This is a completely different project. This is a cardiovascular project on the cartipine, which is returning some remaining. And you can see here this is actually a .doc file. So this is a Word file. It's not even a SAS data set or an XBT or XML document. And you can see here is a PDF. So this is in a completely different index, in a CDISC pilots index, where we're keeping a lot of the data that was sent to the FDA for the second CDISC pilot. And so you can see the different types of files that Reveal is indexing here, returning in the search. You have some SAS data sets, some PDFs, some Word files. We can also index Excel files, or pretty much any kind of unstructured or structured data can be done with Reveal. But let's say we wanted to narrow this down even further, and we got a bunch of whole stuff in here that wasn't really what we were looking for. We can just add a little modifier here that actually makes it a little bit more specific. And basically, I think what that number does is it limits the amount of flexibility that the fuzzy search has. So it should narrow it down quite a bit, and it'll provide a little bit of flexibility. So you can see here that in this one we do have some memantine and memantine and then memantine. You can see right here we're actually returning some search results that are fairly similar but not exactly. So that could account for some quick misspellings or something like that if it was transcribed wrong or something like that on an investigator form. Another thing that we could do, and this is in the same vein as what I was looking at before with the sex or the gender, if I were to go ahead and say path, AE serious, if I want to look at all the serious adverse events, I could just type in AE SDR, which is the name of that variable in the AE data set, and :y. And what that'll do is actually return all the records. So I can see here in CAMD 1046, I have 136 records where AE serious is equal to yes, which would indicate to me that there are 136 serious AEs in this data set. You can do a similar thing with AE related. And this is basically just a simple search query. That if any of you are SAS programmers or SQL programmers or anything like that, you should be used to something like this, where you're just going in and saying, "Give me all the records that meet this criteria." So you can see here on 1052, we have 125 matches where AE related is equal to yes, which indicates to me we have 125 related adverse events there. Now another possible use case for this is looking at a number of if you look across different studies, you want to know how many of them did questionnaires or how many of them had questionnaires. So what you can do is you can actually just keep the same path, type in, name QS, okay, same kind of thing. Oh, sorry, that was my fault. I need a wildcard after that. So if I didn't put the wildcard, it's just looking straight for just files named QS. But if I put the wildcard in, then it's actually looking at all of the files in here rather than just ones named specifically QS. And additionally to this, I can broaden the search by not looking just within this compound. If I want to look across other compounds as well, I can see that if I just remove that path modifier, then I'll get all the CAMD results that I had before. But I will also get 2 results from the CDISC pilot folder that meet the same criteria. Okay. Oops, sorry. All right. So now what I think I want to do is I would like to maybe search for different file types. Reveal is actually pretty open, and your imagination is basically the limit of what you can put in here. So if you wanted to search for only SAS data sets, what you can do, or SAS programs, sorry, you can actually say name, and then you say wildcard.sas. And so then what you're going to be looking for is you're only going to be looking for SAS files, and what it'll return is it will return every SAS file that you have out here. You could narrow that down by path. You can narrow it down by the individual source or the folder using these same modifiers up here. Maybe what I want to do is I actually want to look for particular text in these files. So what I can do is I can just keep this same search up here, but then add something like race to let me know which programs actually act on race or have the term race in it. So if I add race, then what I can do is I can see I get something from cardiovascular index and then also something from the CDISC pilots folder. And what I can do is I can just double click on this, or just single click actually, and I'll open it in SAS Viewer, and here it is. And if you search inside of this, if you want to just do a quick search for race inside of here, you can see that it pops up right there, and so that's the reason why it's being returned in the reveal search. Okay. Let's see. And I think that's basically all I want to cover in terms of reveal. But what I want to say about it is that it is a pretty powerful search product, a tool, especially if you have no idea what it is, where a lot of your data is and what the contents of it are. It is completely and totally open, and as long as it's in your index, you can search it and find it. And I know that my past experience in working a lot of companies that have a lot of data in a lot of different places, when I was put on a project, it was actually very hard to find what I was looking for, and so I could actually take action on it. But Reveal actually is a pretty good product if you want to just find what you're looking for, and so you can do something with it. That is its primary purpose. So now let's say, for an example, that we want to, we have a submission coming up. Let's just say this is one of the use cases. We have a submission coming up, and we have a bunch of data that we want to submit to the FDA. And this has been a long-running project. There's a whole lot of studies. We'll use the CAMD studies as an example. So if we just say same thing, path is CAMD. Okay, and now let's say that we want to look at an instance of all of the different demographics files that we have to see if they are in a submittable form. So what we would do is we would use OpenCDISC to go ahead and check the validation of that, or check the against the validation rules whether that is a submittable data set. OpenCDISC, for those of you who are most likely familiar with it, OpenCDISC is a free tool that is available from 21. That you can download and just use on your Windows-based machine, and you can just point export files at it, and you can see it has a couple different options. You can do a delimited file or export file. As long as you can just tell it where the export file is, it will tell you what the validation status of that is. It supports SDTM, Atom, Define.xml, send, and then custom formats as well. But let's stick to SDTM, Atom, and Define.xml for this presentation. So let's say that we, within let's change this to the CDISC pilots. So let's just name CDISC. Okay, and then I will put that. And then let's just say dm.expedite. And so now you can see what we have here. Oops. Let's just say dm. Let's say name. Let's say dm wildcard. So you can see here we have a couple different files. We have a transport file, we have data set. So on the transport file here, let's look at what the path is. All right, so the path is CDISC pilot, M5 dataset, study one tabulations, DM, XBT. And you could just open this file and you could take a look at it if you wanted. So here it is. This is just your XBT file and this is the contents. So you can go and take a look at this and kind of browse it at your leisure. Additionally, what you could do is you can go over here to open CDISC to actually run validation against this. So we have the path right here. Open CDISC, the free version, you actually have to click through the path here. So what we can do is we can just, let's see. So it's in CDISC pilots, CDISC pilot 2, M5, data sets, study 1, tabulations, DMXPT. That was the one that it returned to us. So if we open that, we're going to configure, or we're going to actually validate it against SDTM 3.1.2. There's no Define.xml that's in here, and we actually want the output in Excel format. You can also get it as the delimited, comma delimited as well. And so we'll just run that really quick. So you can see it generated the report. You can view the report. This will launch OpenOffice in this environment, but it'll also run in Excel or open in Excel as well. And so you can see here, this is the typical OpenCDISC report that you would get. So you can see here that there were 0 errors. There's 54 records. There's a couple of warnings and some notices, but the errors is what you're really looking for. So this one is actually doing in pretty good shape for what you want to look at in terms of being submittable. But you can see, look here at the issue summary. You can actually see a bunch of the individual items. So it's just missing a couple of different things, which is not surprising because I didn't actually input those into the analysis or into the report itself. So the fact that some of these are missing is not that surprising. But you can see here, there's some other warnings here that there is a value in race that's actually not found in the current NCI code list. There's some unexpected variables, some other issues, and you can see that it's missing some other data sets that actually needs to do some cross data set validation based on some of the rules. You can look at some of the details that are here, and it will actually say, here's some of the issues. So like Black, Caucasian, Hispanic, there's some things here that actually don't show up in the code list. And then actually you can browse the rules that were used to actually generate this report and what it's actually using to check the input against. And you can browse this. This actually gets output with every single report that you make. So the rules are always the same between them. So what we can do is we can close that real quick. We're hung up here. Oh, come on. Okay. So if we go back to Reveal, we see we also had another DM data set here that actually came out in the study 2, not in study 1. So we can run that one as well, and we can actually look at what that looks like. So we'll browse up to study 2. We'll go to tabulations again, and we'll look at DM. And so we can actually include that. But let's clear it and only include that one. So there's study 2. We'll run the report again. That one's just run pretty quick. We can view the report. Okay, same kind of thing. No errors, a couple of warnings. So again, this is pretty good. And what we're expecting to submit to the FDA actually is in fairly decent shape. Similar warnings, which wouldn't be surprising if the studies were similar. You'd expect to see similar warnings. But let's go ahead and look at some of the Atom data now. So if we wanted to look at Atom, let's say that we were doing a search for ADSL. So instead of looking at DM, we just punch in ADSL with a wildcard so we can see all of the things that are ADSL. We can see we have for study 1, study 2, similar ADSL data sets. So let's switch this to Atom, and then we can do a quick browse. We're still looking at XPT files. You can see the path here. So we'll go out to study 1. We'll go to analysis. ADSL is right there. We can just open that up. And then we're going against the Atom 1.0 configuration here. We're still going to request an Excel. The code list is actually going to be the one from July 22nd, 2011. And we will do a quick search. And again, here we go. We have some results. Here we have a number of different errors, though. So we have 22 errors that actually occurred here. We have some warnings. If we go to the issue summary, you can see that there is a couple of different things. So for example, the variable in the form of TRT XXP is a 2-digit number for XX. So what we can do is go back to the reveal and open this up and actually see what they're talking about. So what we can do is we can see that there's a number of different variables here, and when we go across, we start looking and we see like TRT1P and TRT2P and TRT3P, and according to Atom, that's supposed to be TRT01P instead of just 1P. So actually, that's an error, and that would cause you that would be something that would be a concern if you're going to be sending this data to the FDA. So it's kind of nice to be able to find the data you're looking for and then run it into the OpenSea's validator to see what the items of concern are very quickly. And we can do the same effort with the other ADSL data set, although I anticipate it's going to be fairly similar. So, oops. So what we'll do is we will clear this out. Instead of looking at study 1, we'll look at study 2. Analysis, and then we're going to do ADSL. ADSL, keep all the other things the same, and we'll run it, and we'll view the report. So you can hear we have 17 errors instead of 22 errors. On the issue summary, you can see similar types of issues. We still have that same treatment problem. This particular data set that has a variable that ends in DT doesn't have a date format, a SAS date format, which is what's required. And then it's also telling you some other rules based on variables that need to be required and some that are expected. So we can look and say, oh, what's that one that's not required? So if we go in here and we just look, we have these 3. So TRT01P, and again, that's a similar kind of problem as we had before. That's a required one that actually is not present at all. So it's giving us an error. AGU is a required variable, and subject ID is a required variable. It's not finding those. But then it's also not finding these other ones as well. And yeah, expected ones are, they're not as serious as the required, but still it's something you should be taking a look at and would be a concern if you're going to be sending this data to the FDA. Okay, and the last thing I want to show you is just looking at Define.xml. OpenCDISC actually has the ability to generate a Define.xml document, so you can see up here. But I'm not going to be explaining how to do that within the tool. What I'm going to be doing is saying, let's assume, for argument's sake, you've already generated your Define.xml, and you basically want to use OpenCDISC to determine its validity. And so, if you have a large submission with many, many studies, it could potentially be that you have a lot of different defined documents. So what you can do is you can just go in here and let's just type, name. If I can spell it right. Name, and then we'll do define wildcard. And you can see here we have a whole bunch of different defined documents here. They're almost all in the CDISC pilot, so you can see a lot of them that are in here. let's look at, you can even see also we have some PDFs that are in here as well, and some XML documents. So let's take a look at this XML document, this one right here. So let's browse to it. Let's change this to say that we're going to be validating a Define.xml. We're going to say that it is in 900.172 M5 datasets, CDISC Pilot 01. Let's see, it's analysis, Atom, datasets, and there's your define right there. So let's open that up and let's run a quick report on it to see what it says. Now remember, the Define.xml is what the FDA uses, to be able to interpret what is in your data. So having this correct is pretty crucial in your submission, and validating it is just as important. So what you can see here is that there is some structural problems here. So the attribute name is in the wrong position within Define.xml, so it's not necessarily a well-structured XML file. But you can also see some elements that are actually in the wrong position as well. So what you can do is you can actually go through and take a look at some of those as you go. And so you can see on the Details tab some of the different issues that you would have, and that would actually allow you to go back and modify your Define.xml document to make sure that it is actually compliant and well-structured. And that's pretty much what I wanted to show from the Reveal side. Unless there's any questions, I will hand it back to Keith.
Okay, Ian, thank you. Quite a bit covered there. Thank you for taking us through all that. So bear with me here. I'm going to show you my screen, and basically we will I would just tell you that Reveal can be delivered as hosted in the cloud or installed at your location or hosted by DWise. And I think we'll just move on to the questions at this point. Guys, what I have to do, this is sort of not what I'm going to say in the webinar, but I have to sort of make each of you a presenter, and then you have to sort of let me know so that I can unmute you. If I unmute more than two people, it seems like we get a lot of distortion. So let me just go to the attendee list here, and so I'll summarize that what we saw here is that Reveal can search structured and unstructured data and metadata. It is the only search platform that searches the contents of SAS data sets and other file types. It can search across multiple studies, and it searches multiple data stores and most commercially available clinical data repositories and host file systems. So we will go to the question and answer. One of the first questions we have here is, how is Reveal different from horizontal enterprise search products like Google Enterprise Search? Chris, maybe you would be the one to answer that question.
Hi, Keith. This is Chris Decker, Vice President of Life Sciences Practice. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. We'll probably have to determine, so we don't have to say, how can you hear me? Normally, actually, I would not respond to this question, but for purposes of this, I will. But maybe I am labeled to respond to this one. Most of the tools you find on the Internet, such as Google, are designed for searching the Internet, HTML, files, small documents, and aren't really focused on the structured data and large documents that we see within clinical research. With a number of our customers we've talked to, they've actually tried to use enterprise search tools, the more generic kinds, and they just don't fit their needs. Reveal searches inside the clinical data as well as across larger and structured documents, which I think leverages or positions it to be a solution for the clinical needs that we have.
Okay, thanks. Actually, I'm gonna ask Bud, but would you care to sort of add more to that?
Sure, I'm not using my headset. Can you hear me okay? Guys?
But I can hear you. Not anymore.
I can't hear Bud. Bud, are you talking? Bud?
I heard you, your first sentence, but then you dropped out. But
Okay, we must have lost him somehow. All right, let's for.
sorry, Chris said that, did you mute everyone?
No, I only muted him, and then I unmuted Bud because if I have two people that are not, presenters unmuted, we get distortion. So I have to do it sort of one at a time. There's a way around this. They could sign as attendees, and when they're able to, or when they have to answer a question, I can make them a presenter, and then they can present.
In my little interface here, I see Bud is being muted.
Yeah, I just did that before when.
Now he's unmuted.
Right, but I can't. He can't seem to respond. He's not responding to me. Let's see. Can I send him a chat? Send chat message.
No, he just said he's having audio problems.
Oh. Okay. Well, I'm sending him a chat anyway. Okay, so let's forget that. I'm going to go back to the questions. Okay, so the next question we have here is how long does it take to index a repository? And this would be typically answered by Oli. And, I'm going to try and iron out these questions a little bit more. I had some discussion with Bud previously, and we have a little sort of massage on some of these questions and answers. We're not going to ask the question about...
From Chris Olinger.
Oh, Chris says he's on.
Oh, Chris is here.
Well, maybe I don't. He just Skyped me.
I am going to make him a panelist. And I'll unmute him. Chris, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I've been able to hear you the entire time I've been on. I've been on for about 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, okay, good. So we had a little problem with Bud being able to participate, but what we're doing right now is basically I'm sort of reading through some seeded questions, and I'm then giving, like yourself, an opportunity to respond. So one of the questions here is how much data can you search with Reveal? So I would unmute myself at this point.
Did you unmute yourself?
I did unmute myself now. Yep. So Chris.
Hold on. So wait. So what did you just do? You muted yourself, and you want me to pick up?
I would like you to answer the question.
Is that correct?
Yeah. In other words, we have a question on the table here. How much data can you search with Reveal? I would think, Chris, you might be the best one to answer this. So I'm going to unmute.
Okay. I'm Chris Olinger, CTO of DWise. The question is, how much data can you search with Reveal or index with Reveal? Currently, it is somewhat limited by, well, no, unlimited, I'd say, in terms of space and processing power. So the bigger the install, the more data we can search. Typically, we've had no trouble indexing repositories in the terabyte range, but it just depends on how much textual data is actually being indexed in the repository based on the different types of files that are there.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Thanks for that answer. I just sent you a little chat that I think a headset, your sound is kind of off, so a headset might be better if we do that when we do this tomorrow. If you have one.
Yeah, I don't have one right now. I have some earphones and stuff. I'll bring in to hook up.
Okay. So while you're on stage here, I have a second question that I think most likely falls into your bailiwick here. Does Reveal honor the underlying security access of the database you're searching?
The answer to that is yes, optionally if you'd like to turn it on. Reveal has mechanisms built in it by which it will index everything and then only show results to the end user if that user has access to the underlying object. Typically, these security mechanisms are based on the individual repository that we happen to be indexing. So depending on the source, we can either turn on the security mechanism or not. So here's a question. How do you know when the answer's over? So you can effectively transition and turn off my mic versus, enabling somebody else. I wonder if we could have like a Skype going in the background where you just say, I'm done talking. Decker wants to be unmuted. He has an idea but can't talk. Actually, I like this.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Finally, a way to shut Decker up.
Chris, can you hear me? Decker? Chris?
He's texting me naughty things. Okay. Control. You don't control me, man. Okay, here's the deal. Keith, I think multiple people can be on here at once because there's 3 of us unmuted right now.
Yeah,
I don't hear the distortion. So
it was just let me just say something.
Okay.
When Ian was presenting, and I unmuted Bud, okay, because he wanted to be able to talk, I got like wild distortion. So that's why I was like a little hesitant to unmute everybody at one time. But let me just do it right now. I'm going to unmute everyone. So everyone is unmuted now. So
I think what happened there.
Yay!
Hey, look at that. We're all on. I think
except for Bud.
Except for Bud. Well, I'm wondering if Bud was dialed in on the phone as well as on here. Okay. Here's what I would suggest is that we ask the question, right? You give the person. We all stay unmuted, but each of us is responsible for muting our own mics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Bud says he's not on the phone.
Okay.
Okay. Well, he's the only one having problems, so okay. But we all are responsible, and then basically we say, we answer our question, and then we say, so that wraps it up. Back to you, Keith.
Okay, that's a good idea. I'll go with that. I mean, generally, I can kind of sense when you're done speaking, but you could say that pretty much wraps that up, Keith. Something like that.
Yeah, or some whatever you want to use. Just kind of end your thing, and then make sure that each person on the panel, if you're not specifically answering the question, put your own mic on mute. Mm-hmm. So you can keep everybody unmuted on the actual meeting.
Yeah, and the way you do that is in the GoToWebinar control panel.
Yep.
There's a little green microphone button, and that's how you mute yourself.
Right.
Yeah, and I was just going to unmute my actual laptop, but
Where is that?
In your control panel, when you open up that orange arrow and you have the control panel in front of you,
I lost it. So I'm looking for it right now to see if I can find it. Keith, can you show? Oh, there it is. That's it. Up in the top right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you see your name, and there should be like a green microphone, then a screen,
got it.
then a marker. You just click on that to mute and unclick to unmute.
Okay, that's a good idea. Everybody mute themselves.
Yep. And so when we go to the questions, Keith, you can just unmute everybody that's going to be on the panel.
Yeah, the way I think this works is maybe everybody sort of signs in as an attendee to the webinar, right?
Unmute Tom. He's still muted.
Oh, sorry. Tom, can you hear us?
Oh, finally. I've had so much to say and I can't talk.
Yeah, right.
It's fucking killing me right now.
I thought you didn't want to talk.
Oh, I want to talk.
Okay.
So how many people do you have on this panel, Keith?
Well, I have you as an attendee, and I have 5 staff, including myself, 4 and myself.
No, but how many people are you anticipating answer questions on this webinar?
Oh, right now it was Oli and Decker, basically, with Bud maybe chiming in on the unique capability of Reveal versus other horizontal enterprise search products. Because the question that the answer that I supplied to the question, how is Reveal different from generic search products like Google, we changed that around a little bit because Bud and I had a conversation right before we went on the air here to change that to how is Reveal different from other horizontal enterprise search products like Google Enterprise Search, because Google and Bing are not really competitive with Reveal, I don't think. It's really
so no offense to Chris Decker or Bud or anyone else, but I think we should have maybe one other person. It sounds very, when we're doing this and different people are coming on the phone and introducing themselves and answering, it sounds very staged and contrived.
Yeah.
I would have Chris O answer the technical questions, and you can answer both the technical.
Well, the questions we have, Tom, are basically around how is it different from other enterprise search products, which I thought Chris Decker could answer, and then the next ones are, and I'm not sure we should even broach this, how long does it take to index a repository, because if it's days, that might scare people away, but we could say it'd take a while, and then explain how it gets faster as you have created the index. Then we have questions on how much data can you search. That's sort of another Oli question. Do you honor the underlying security? That's another Oli question. And then just like one last question would be, does Reveal formally validate CDISC data? And that's a Decker question, I think.
How about the get rid of the how long does it take to index thing?
Mm-hmm.
And say, do you have any customers using this, and what results have they seen?
Okay.
So then we can say, yes, we have a large pharma company that's that is in production, and yes, and we've got the burned quote, right? It basically says, we're able to respond to regulatory inquiries in a very short period of time versus what used to take weeks or months. Now it can be done in minutes or hours.
So can I count it on you to answer that question?
I can. I'm very sort of mixed on this whole multiple people chiming in. Like, it takes 12 of us to answer these sort of basic questions, is what I'm guessing my point is. It sounds very staged and sort of weird, frankly, from the webinar side to listen to. I mean, but in most cases, like an Ian, whoever the person is demoing, and the moderator, like yourself, typically answers all the questions.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a bunch of other people dialing in and answering questions.
I see where Tom's coming from. I mean, Ian just did the demo. He should be able to answer the process questions. Keith, you're the moderator. If anything, we add Chris in as for a technical resource, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right. I would have Oli come in as CTO, period.
Yeah, guys, this is Ian. I have to Bull, I got something else I have to do. But if you have any suggestions or anything for stuff that I should cover that I spent too much time or not enough time on or anything like that, then send them to me.
Can you stay on for one more minute, or do you have to bolt?
One more minute.
Okay, so I thought you did a really good job. There's two things. One is you need to expand your screen so it shows, so you're taking up your whole screen.
Oh,
because on the viewer, it's only just a small section of the screen that's coming up on, so it's hard to see. And you know the reveal results are small anyways, right? So it's hard to even read what is on the screen that you're demoing.
Okay.
And the other thing is you just need to go slower.
Yeah, I was thinking that while I was doing it.
Yeah, you just need to just take some pauses in between the things you show, and you slow her down a little bit. That's all.
Yep.
No, that was good.
And maybe I need to go a little faster because we're at an hour, right now. We're at actually an hour and 5. So maybe I'll try and move a little faster so give Ian a little bit more time so he doesn't have to rush.
Yeah, I mean, we just derailed the last 10 or 15 minutes, so we might not be as far off as you think.
Right.
Right.
Hey, Ian, can you just display the screen real quick so I can see on my screen? Maybe it's just like a quick tech thing.
Chris, I didn't hear any of that.
Can you display your screen?
Oh, I'll make him the presenter. Hold on.
Yeah, resolution on yours, Ian, was small. I had that as a comment as well.
Well, let's...
Yeah, that's tiny right there.
Oh, no, I got the entire screen on mine blown up.
Yeah, because I have 2 monitors, but I'm using an entire monitor here.
Yeah, because it's showing your screen in the background behind reveal and stuff.
Hold on. What if,
there we go.
That's weird. I saw that desktop complete and fully expanded.
Yeah, I'm with...
But with Meyer.
There you go. Whatever you did, that's it.
Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still small, though.
This is as big as I can make it.
No, I mean, the screen's fine. It's full-fledged. I think if you're just going to show something, that you just do the, plus on the, if you're showing the, you're not showing this, but...
Okay.
Go
Well,
back
we'll sort it out tomorrow morning.
Yep.
And I will.
There is this little controlled zoom over here in the upper left of the GoToWebinar viewer. Maybe if you click on full screen there, it'll make it larger.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what you got to do. Click that blue button, and that expands it to the whole window.
I've got a whole bunch of blue buttons. But
No, not you, Ian. All the viewers, basically, where they've got little, right below the mic is a blue expand button.
Below the
So
mic.
if you saw it in a small window, hit that blue button.
Oh,
I don't see it.
on the control panel, under the orange arrow, the fourth one down is a view in full screen mode.
Yes.
okay, guys, I really got to go, so I'm just
Okay.
going to leave this on here, and you can play around with it if you want.
I think I need to mention that in the control panel, to see this in full screen mode, that's the best viewing, angle, whatever, best viewing setting.
Okay.
So I will add that to my my entry slides. Were you on for my portion of it?
Yeah. What was that word "duh" in the first slide?
I put that in. That was in there for just I forgot to take it out for this presentation. But I was like, you're going to find out. You're going to learn more about Reveal Clinical Search. No kidding.
Okay.
That's all I meant. I will fix that. But maybe what we should do is talk about. Do you guys care about the survey questions that I'm asking after the event? I could tell you just basically, it's like, was the content relevant? Would it rate my presentation, Keith's presentation 1 to 5? Rate Ian's presentation 1 to 5? that kind of thing. I could share those questions with you in an email if you want. But they will get those questions will come up on their screen after the webinar ends, and they'll also get them in an email a thank you follow-up email that happens after the webinar. So basically, that's it. Any comments, corrections, changes?
Keith, if you would just send me the questions that you're likely to ask me.
Yep. I'm going to clean up these questions. I'll most likely talk to Bud. He had just some changes at the 11th hour here, right before I went on the air. So you guys didn't see that. They're just little nuances of terms.
Keith, can you pass those when you're done with that? And Bud, can you pass them by Tom, please? I think Tom's probably got the best perspective from a sales perspective about the
types of questions to ask and the answers.
Yeah, so I'd like him to have a final review on it.
Okay, I'll try and pull that together and get that to him tonight.
By the way, when is the demo?
The demo is at 1 o'clock tomorrow, but Ian and I are getting on and practicing some more at 11:30 Eastern Time.
Okay. 11:30?
Yes.
So Keith, your one slide that talks about implementation options, and it says software as a service, on-premise,
Yeah,
and then the third is
this one?
is hosted by DWise.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that and software as a service?
Well, this is in a cloud.
I mean,
Software is, I went over this with Oli, and I had that same sort of question, like what's the difference between hosted at DWise and hosted and SaaS? Because in my experience, SaaS can also be a subscription-based, software,
right,
that you turn on and turn off on a monthly basis. And I don't think we do that. But so what we decided was that SaaS was, through hosted in a cloud environment, and then, it can be installed or it can be hosted by DWise, but not in the cloud.
Well, there's different kinds of clouds, right? There's private clouds, there's a whole list of different definitions of cloud.
I think we say it can be delivered as software as a service, or it can be implemented on-premise.
Yep, I agree.
Those are your two options.
Okay.
And don't get into don't say it's in the cloud or where it is. Just say software as a service or on-premise.
Okay. I will change that.
And then whether we host it or whether we throw it in the cloud or wherever we put it, who cares?
Okay, so I just would have basically, do I even need images on that slide, or just 2 bullet points?
Well, you can put the images, they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Just put one that says software as a service and one that says on-premise.
Okay.
And your images are fine. Yeah.
Okay. On-premise. Let me just do that right now. Sorry. Oops. Okay. I'm going to save that. And so would you like me to send you this deck, and you guys could comment on that as well? It's fairly big, though, file size-wise. Not necessary.
Yeah, why don't you can, yeah, you can send it over. Let me just take a quick look at it.
Okay. Okay. And so after the questions, I would just go to a slide that basically says, please give us your feedback in the survey that you'll see when the webinar ends, and go to our website to download, technical brief, data sheet on Reveal, or tips on building a business plan for Reveal.
How about if we have, specific questions, contact tdeeker at dwise.com.
I could do that. I could put that on one of the slides.
Yeah, and so So people have questions, and we'll find out who's
Tom,
interested.
what I did have originally, actually, in the
Or
last
sales@dwise.com.
I said, I pointed them to our website. I said, go to the homepage of our website and use the click to schedule, a meeting with one of our account managers. And if they do that, then it kind of handles the scheduling of those calls.
Okay. That's fine.
So we'll try that too, because we haven't really used that time trade utility on the website very much. But it's pretty good with scheduling, phone calls for you. Okay.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it, guys. That's all I got. Any
Okie dokie.
Any additional comments, guys? No. Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Keith.
Stop by around 11:30 tomorrow if you want to work on it more. Thanks.
And Chris Ollinger, you better do that. We'll make sure your mic is right, because you sound horrible.
All right. No problem. I don't know what the mic is on this machine. I'll bring the speakers or some headset and mic tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks.
See ya.
I'm going to try and put this stuff together and get it out to you shortly. All right? Thank you. Bye-bye.